I'm Broc Pearson, and you're racing with the Idemitsu Asia Motorsports Hour.
Australia gets the Idemitsu Asia Motorsports Hour treatment this week. We meet Broc Pearson, one of the next generation of Aussie riders who's already survived two massive career setbacks.
Being fast was sort of natural to me at that point. It was just easy. And then I had this accident, and it's just like everything just had to start again.
We find out more about the newest circuit in Australia as Michael Rossi sends us round the bend.
It's a circuit that was built by drivers and riders, for drivers and riders.
Steve Martin and Zaqhwan Zaidi are our studio guests with analysis and opinion as the road racing season in Asia Pacific at last revs into gear. Australia boasts a who's who of road racing greats. Doohan, Gardner, Bayliss, Corsa, Pete Goddard, Casey Stoner, not to mention Steve Martin, Andrew Port and Colm Mugridge, all of which puts a ton of pressure on the next generation of racers coming through the system. So we thought we'd ask one of them about it. Broc Pearson's a 20-year-old from the Gold Coast who first came to our attention in the talent-finding Asia Dream Cup in 2015 and 16, progressing to the Australian Superbikes Championship to 300 and now Supersport 600cc. Two really nasty accidents slowed his progress, but now he's fit and had a great ride at the weekend at the new SBK season got underway at the Winton Raceway in Victoria. So firstly, Broc, welcome to the show, and how is it to race fit and healthy?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Des. I really appreciate that. But no, it's been really good. Finally, after a few years, we're sort of coming back and finally getting back to those sort of results that I deserved, a couple of years ago, but I find myself fighting off a couple of demons. But anyways, we're back there now. I'm racing good, racing fast again, so I'm loving it.
It was a great start to the season. Now, in the introduction to you, I listed a whole range of world champions from Australia. Does that put any kind of pressure on young lads like yourself coming up through the system?
It's a good thing to see that Australia had such a good class of riders that go through the system. It shows that, there is good talent that's able to, make it in the future, and we do have strong classes. But like I said, those guys are obviously an inspiration to us, and they have great results, but a lot of them, like I said, like Troy Bayliss and Steve Martin and Colm Mugridge, I see those sort of guys more as friends because, we bump faces into them every day, so I sort of look at them like a mate that knows how to ride a bike real quick. So, it's cool to have those guys that as personal friends. We talk about it all the time and how they made it over there, and it's really cool. I hope I do too.
You're riding in the SBK this season, got off to a winning start at the weekend. What targets have you set yourself for the season?
It was really nice to go to Winton and get a win straight out of the way to sort of kick off the championship. That was really nice. We had Wakefield to finish off the championship last year, and I picked up a win there too, and that was my first one in almost 4 years. So I sort of got that one out of the way, and then to go to Winton, just gone last weekend and pick up another win. It's like, okay, maybe I'm coming back and I'm getting to grip with things. So absolutely, this year's my goal is to win the championship, but to go to each race, I really want to be fast. I want to go there and be the guy to beat. I want to be able to lay down time straight away. I pretty much just want to feel in control. That'll be nice because, I used to feel like that when I was racing. It's taken me a long time, and I've worked really hard for it. So if I can get that back, I'd be really happy.
You're still only a young man at 20, but let me take you back 5 or 6 years. And you came over to Asia, and we saw you in the Asia Dream Cup. Can you describe to us the differences and how important that championship was for those 2 seasons in your own riding development?
Yeah, it was massive. Pretty much when I rode in Asia, it taught me everything I have now. From the way I ride a bike, the way I change gears, the racecraft, everything. I went over there not knowing much at all. I went over there, I remember seeing Ron Hogg put up something on Facebook about, apply for the Asia Dream Cup here. I didn't even tell Dad. I was just like, nah, I'm going to apply for that, So I applied for that, and I got an email that, we could come over and do that Sepang test, and I said, hey Dad, can we go to Sepang? And he sort of went, you're not really ready for that. And I said, oh, well, let's go have some fun. So anyways, we went over there, and, I didn't have a whole heap of riding underneath me at that time. And Yeah, there was a lot of guys over there that were really fast and were prepared when they went, and I was really lucky that Ron and that gave me the opportunity to come into the championship. And like I said, I rode in there for 2 years, and I started at the back, and by the end of those 2 years, you know, we were winning races, being competitive, getting lap records, and that was great. And all that is because of Asia. You know, I had to go over there, I had to learn it, I had to study what everyone else did, watch the fast guys, and pretty much from there, that's how I learned. So everything I have now comes from there, and it was an awesome opportunity. Like, you know, everything we got to see and the different tracks and the guys I got to meet, it's an awesome culture. You know, I don't think a lot of championships carry the energy that Asia Road Racing does, and that's just one major thing that championship has. It's got great energy to it. Everyone loves it.
Hey, we followed your career once you went back to the ASBK, and we were very, very sad to learn that you had not one but two big accidents, potentially career-ending. How have they affected you?
Yeah, the first one was the hardest, because the first one I just finished up my 2 years in Asia, and then I'd come back to Australia, and I wanted to come back to Australia and dominate what I was putting myself into, because, you know, I felt confident. I just finished on a high in Asia, and I knew the way and the speed and everything I learned over in Asia. I knew that the guys here in Australia didn't really have that at the time. So I thought, you know, I was going to be one up, and I sort of had that accident, and it just threw me so far back. I went to the Phillip Island testing. We were fastest, and I didn't look at it anyway. You know, being fast was sort of natural to me at that point. It was just easy. And then I had this accident, and it's just like everything just had to start again. You know, I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to think again, how to ride a bike again. It was tough. So then I got back on a bike. I wasn't competitive. My mindset wasn't there. I struggled to race, and that was pretty hard. You know, it took me a couple of years to get going again realistically. And then when I did, I had a wild card in Asia, but here at the Bend in Australia, and broke my back again. And it was really hard. I almost threw the towel in, but I sort of sat on my back laying there for a few weeks and had a while to think about it. And I'm not much good at anything else, so I sort of worked my way back into it, and now here I am winning races again, so I'm really glad with that decision.
Oh wow, what a story that is. Any chance we'll see you back in Asia again? I mean, you've had a good start to the season. We'd love to see you back in this part of the world.
Yeah, it would be unreal. Like I said before, the energy that Asia carries is unreal. I love it, and I thrived off it when I was racing there. You know, I love turning up to a race weekend with that energy, and I just hope maybe Ron Hogg, you know, sends me a message one day and says, "Hey Brock, here's the ride if you want to come do it," and I'll jump on a plane and be there in a minute.
We'll pass that message on to Ron. We'll hear from you later in the show, but for now, Brock Pearson, been great to have you on the Idemitsu Asia Motorsports Hour. In 2018, a brand new racing facility was opened in South Australia, just down the road from Adelaide. It was a welcome addition to the motorsports industry in Australia and was immediately welcomed by both the Australian Superbikes and Asia Road Racing Championships, both whom held rounds at the 7.7 kilometre circuit. In the first of a series looking at circuits in Asia Pacific, we are asking Michael Rossi, the marketing director of the Bend, to tell us more about the short history of the circuit and to look ahead to the future. Firstly, Michael, welcome to the Asia Motorsports Hour. I understand you've actually been relatively unaffected by the pandemic that's impacted the rest of the world, and you've been racing at the Bend for much of the last 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks for having me. We are really delighted to have been able to continue running the circuit, mainly as usual, for the last 6 months. Certainly there was a pause in play there towards the beginning of last year, but just the weekend just gone now, we had motorcycle riders from all over Australia spend 3 days with us in a long weekend here, up to about 100 riders, and it was just fantastic to see so many people enjoying the circuit.
Fingers crossed then we're approaching something like normality. To an outsider, I've not really visited Australia that often, and considering the tradition of Australian world motorbike champions, there seems to be a real dearth of quality circuits in Australia. Is that a fair observation?
Yeah, look, it's incredible to think that the last racetrack in Australia was built 20 years ago. So it's fair to say that it was well and truly overdue for a new circuit. The great thing about the Bend Motorsports Park is the directors didn't just want to build another racetrack They really wanted it to be world class and to an international standard. And that's clear, and we can talk about some of those features as we chat a little bit further.
Is that fact that they wanted to build something, did that help the very short planning? Because it was, I think it was 2015 the first application, 2015 the first application went in, and 3 years later you've got an international circuit running. That is exceptionally quick by any standards.
It's pretty amazing, actually. As I started my personal journey with the racetrack, I first arrived with a hard hat and a high-vis vest, and next thing you know, within 6 months, we opened our doors. So the business that built the Bend Motorsports Park are very serious operators, and when they do something, they do it properly. They've got significant experience in constructing the service stations that they operate in South Australia, and their commitment, certainly with some government support, both state and nationally as well, meant that this construction process was incredible.
What has the reaction been about the circuit and the facilities, which I understand are still being built, by professionals and also by amateurs who maybe have the chance to hire the facility out?
We've been really fortunate since the circuit opened to have Australian supercar champions visit. We've had Mick Doohan come and visit the track just as recently as a few weeks ago, along with Mark Webber, and they tell us that this track really does rate alongside the best in the world. So that's all the testimony that we need, and to have it across motor vehicle racing and also motorcycle racing, it just gives us great pride, but I think also encouragement that what the directors set out to build here has certainly been delivered.
The actual length of the circuit at 7.7 kilometres, it's long by international standards. I know you subdivide it into the two smaller circuits, but what was the reasoning behind the long, near 8-kilometre circuit?
I think it's a pure indication of the thought process that the directors went through when they built the circuit, and it indicates their desire to build something really special. It's incredible to consider that we're the second longest permanent racetrack in the world here in South Australia, and that in itself is something that that we wanted to have as a unique selling point for us here. And again, the drivers that came and competed in Asian Le Mans series from all over the world, test drivers for Ferrari, some seriously experienced drivers. When they came and told us that it was up there with the best in the world, we knew we had a serious product. So the 7.77 is our marquee circuit, but even at 4.95 Ks, when the motorbikes come here, it's certainly not a small track by any means, and there's plenty of obstacles and challenges in there. It's a circuit that was built by drivers and riders for drivers and riders. So, even for the amateur that comes and visits here, it's certainly going to take a lot of trips before they start to feel like they're really mastering it. So they like to come back and test themselves and improve over time.
If I can drill in on the motorcycling, which is the focus of the Asia Motorsports Hour, what do you see as the real future? You've got Aussie Superbikes, you've got a round at the Bend, you've got Asian Road Racing Championships, we're delighted to be part of it. Where do you see this growing? How do you see this developing over the next, 3, 5, 10 years?
Really, our ambition from the get-go was to have international standard events here. So if one day that means that we're in a position to eventually hold MotoGP, or events to that standard, that's exactly what we're going for.
Coming up after the Idemitsu choir, we get opinion and comment from these two gentlemen.
It was an amazing weekend of racing in Australia. Just like everybody in the world, we have been waiting a long, long time to get the bikes onto the track.
In the graphic, I think it's most difficult track, also most adventure, We have a very tight corner. We need to manage how to win.
The Idemitsu Inquisition is next. Very warm welcome back to the Idemitsu Asia Motorsports Hour. We've got what we're calling the Idemitsu Inquest for you. Each week we're going to be looking back at racing that has happened and forward to events that are still to happen. And to join me in the studio today, via Zoom in Australia, we've got Steve Martin, the former World Endurance Champion. Steve, welcome along.
Thank you.
And Zaqhwan Zaidi, a former arrc 600cc champion and Capri champion. Zaqhwan, welcome along.
Thank you to invite me.
My pleasure, Zaqhwan, my pleasure. First things first, let's get straight on to the action. We actually had some racing at the weekend. It took place over at the Winton Raceway in Victoria. And Steve, you were on board the commentary team there for a really exciting round at what looked to be a terrific event. Talk to me about the 1000cc where Wayne Maxwell is the defending champion, and he went and got back-to-back wins.
Yeah, it was an amazing weekend of racing in Australia. Just like everybody in the world, we have been waiting a long time to get the bikes onto the track. Our first round was meant to be at Phillip Island, but unfortunately it got shut down. But racing did go underway when we got to Winton, and it was just sensational. The guys had spent a lot of time working on their bikes. Ducati have made some leaps forward. They've got a new electronics package on that bike now, which Wayne Maxwell and also Troy Bayliss' team made the most of. And then, of course, Troy Herfoss on the Honda, the new Honda Fireblade. I know that Zaqhwan probably cannot wait to get on board that machine, but it seems to be an absolute weapon. And Herfoss, so far, he raced it for the first time last year at Wakefield Park and won one race and didn't finish the next one. And he did the same here this weekend. He had a DNF when he should have won. But firstly, Maxwell was just on fire, as you would expect from him at that circuit. It's a very tight circuit, but both him and Troy Herfoss were pretty much in a class of their own out there on track.
Great summary. Zaqhwan, I know you've spoken, I think, to Troy, and you were saying that the tyre choice, the tyre selection, could have been a big say in what happened in the first race when he slid off in the last lap.
I know, quite difficult with the tight corner. Also, we use many like tire use. So for sure, in the many lap, we need to keep pace, but it's not so easy. But if try too much, like Troy, I see in the race one he crashed in the last lap. Maybe already too limit, so he missed race one, but in the race two he win. So I see that very good potential there.
Steve, looking back onto the 600cc's as well, obviously the veterans winning in race number one, but we've got some younger guys coming up in the Supersport 600cc. Broc Pearson, an old friend of ours at the Asia road racing scene, he was fastest in practice, had a bit of a dodgy first race, but came through to win race number two. Looks like it's going to be a good battle between him and Troy Edwards for that championship, or are there more racers who we should take into account?
Well, you know what, the 600 class in Australia in the last couple of years has, if there was a class that was weak, it was the 600s. Everybody was scratching their heads on how to make it strong again, how do we get more riders, how do we improve the class. But this year, boy, it is just incredible now. It really is incredible. The quality of the riders we have now. We have, like you mentioned before, we have Tommy Edwards, who's just come back from racing in Europe. We also have, Broc Pearson, who's fully recovered. He's had a lot of injuries throughout his career. He started racing in Japan, which is always, Zaqhwan knows how tough it is to race over there. It's a tough learning ground, so he's learnt well there. And also Tom Bramich, who spent last year in the 300 World Supersport class, has come back. So we had 25 bikes on the grid, and the lap records was just absolutely smashed this weekend in the 600 class. In fact, Broc Pearson in the second race every lap was within 0.001 of a second. I've never seen anything like it. So he really rode the wheels off that machine, and there was a lot of pressure from Tommy Edwards, and the other guys in the class are also now ramping each other up, and I tell you, that class is really exciting to watch.
On to Zaqhwan, competition can very often bring out the best of you. Tom Edwards and Brock Pearson, they've been racing against each other for years, it seems. Is competition good, or would you much prefer a bike where you can just run away with things?
I have raced before I up to 1000, but in this class we know the 600cc 125, the battle was very near, you know, because in the last lap also we can keep the like Underbone, you know, still can catch.
I want to change focus, Steve Martin, and the Cup pre-season in Malaysia starts this weekend. And I know you're not au fait particularly with the competition itself, but you've done Underbone racing commentary. And I just want your perspective on this Underbone category, which is so popular in Southeast Asia.
Well, I have to say that when I first saw the Underbone racing, I mean, we do have some, you know, we call it bucket racing over here when I first started on little 125s and things, but just like Zaqhwan was saying before, when you have so many guys and girls that are so close, and 1/10 of a second is really the difference between first place and 15th place. I mean, in an Underbone or a Cup pre-race, you can lead over the line with 1 lap to go and end up scoring no points in the race. And that's, you know, that is how you create talent. That's where all these guys like Zaqhwan, they come from, having that hunger. But as a spectator watching the Underbone racing and the Cup Pre, it is just one of the spectacles, almost like watching the Isle of Man. Do you know what I mean? Like, it really is a lot of fun to watch. The guys put it on the limit, and they really do. It's just such an exciting sport. You always, whenever I watch a Cup Pre or an Underbone race, my fingernails always finish.
And I tell you what, we've got a guy who actually made his name at that Cup Prix, a former champion in 2014. Zaqhwan, how important was this Cup Prix competition in developing you as now a potential world rider?
Yeah, like the Malaysian Cup Prix is, for me, is the platform. From there, from beginning, also I have a mentor, Yuzi, Charo Yuzi. Also, he already teach me, and then he give everything, like how to ride, also how to manage the race. But in the Cup Prix, I think it's most difficult track, also most adventure, you know. Every like this year, maybe track very big, like Sepang also have a international track, so everybody can win. But in the small track, like you know, like Tangkap also on the street, we have a very tight corner. We need to manage how to win. So I think for the development, if from Nation Cup Prix, and then we see the potential of the rider, and then he step up to Asia, and then coming progress until the MotoGP.
The 10-round Cup Prix season gets underway this weekend. They're going around the southern Sepang circuit. They're sticking to actual tracks, no road tracks for this season. Steve Martin, just relating back to the circuits in Asia, you've had a look at the likes of Sepang. The shorter tracks are perfect for Cup Prix.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Cup Prix bikes are, you know, they're quite small, they're nimble, and for those reasons, you know, like it is good to mix it up a bit. I mean, sometimes when you have the big long straights, as example at Sepang, if you use the whole circuit, the straights can be quite long. It gives people time to rest. But when you run on the shorter circuits, it makes it a lot more exciting. You cannot afford to make any mistakes. because they don't have those big long straights where you can slipstream all the way back past. So the tighter tracks, the rider has to think and be a lot more careful, and also place themselves at the right point of the track in the right part of the race. Do you know what I mean? So they're very physical. You have to think a lot to win, and that's also what makes them so exciting to watch.
Let's talk specifics with Zaqhwan about the riders who we ought to be looking at. Helmi Asman is the defending champion at CP 150, but Afif won the 2 previous tournaments. Are they likely to be in the frame once again this year?
I hope so, but not so many tracks this year. So, like round 1 maybe Sepang, and then second race is still Sepang. So everybody can win. So, you know, difficult to say. If we need to know like round 3, and then, okay, this rider can win. Like
that's sitting on the fence, Zaqhwan. I'm asking you for some names. Who should we be looking at?
Helmi Asman, last year he can win. But this year may be difficult because everybody fight, for sure. In my you know, my experience, for sure, Helmi or Azroy can win.
In the next Idemitsu Inquest next week on the Idemitsu Asia Motorsports Hour, we'll find exactly who did win and if Zaqhwan was able to work out exactly who is going to win the title. It's 10 rounds in the Cup Prix. We've just had round 1 of the Australian Superbikes Championship. A big thanks to our guest today, Steve Martin, over in Melbourne. What have you got planned for this weekend, Steve? Any racing going on?
Well, this weekend I'll be at my motocross track, and if anyone from Malaysia or wherever they're watching wants to come over, they can have a ride, so not a problem. Next time you come to Australia, come down and see me.
Of course, great plug. And for Zaqhwan Zaidi from Honda Asia Dream Racing, you're just itching to get back onto a bike.
Yeah. I just waiting for the new bike. Or now Troy can ride the new bike, but I still cannot, you know. So I hope in June we can race. So I cannot wait for the testing for the new bike.
Everybody is waiting for the testing. Let's go racing. After a choral interlude, we have a classic race involving our rider of the week, Brock Pearson.
That race was awesome. You know, I sort of went into that weekend and had a bit of a plan because all of the riders had never rode that track before.
We are indeed underway. Pearson gets off to a solid start, as does Hafiz Noor Azman. Nakamura, perhaps content to have the championship already tied up, settles into 3rd place at the first corner.
Looks like Broc Pearson trying to get a good start and get away, and definitely all of them will bunch up together back at the back straight here later.
Steep right-hander, it's Pearson it is indeed who leads the way. You just saw a glimpse there of the long straight that's ahead of him. It's just over 1 kilometre. It goes down a dip and then up into a lovely dipper-like right-hander. Gorgeous track. Pearson under pressure here from bike number 1, Hafiz Noor Azman. Taking completely different lines. Hafiz to the right, Nakamura bike number 2 to the left, and it's indeed the champion, Nakamura, who will go into the sharp right-hander with the lead. And here he is in second place again, but under pressure from Pearson.
Yeah, Brock Pearson already catch them up already.
Pearson, obviously, he's a taller boy than all the others.
I think he's about 6'1", I think.
Yeah, I certainly look up to him. But it's Nakamura who leads the way. And on these lighter bikes and these low levels, the taller you are, it is a disadvantage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you gotta hide under your bubbles. You know, if you're a bit taller, you know, the aerodynamics make a big difference there.
But at the moment, he's nicely tucked in second place behind Hafiz Noor Azman. Just again, different lines going there as Pearson has a look on the inside and.
Ooh, I think they touched there. I think. Yeah, looking each other back there.
He is being very circumspect though, Brock, isn't he?
Yeah.
His father comes over from Australia and acts as his mechanic, Brock Pearson. As there he goes around the corner. Is there a touch?
Yeah, I think they touched there. Yeah, I think they touched there.
Certainly evasive action just at the right time from Pearson. Pearson still in the lead. Look at bike number 2, as you say, he's back in the reckoning now, 7th place, but close enough. But they'll go through this line with 2 laps to go. The Aussie leads the way. The Malaysian Hafiz goes on the inside. Sitipon, Tadachi and Yassin now up into 5th, bike number 9.
It looks like Brock had a small gap there.
The Aussie trying to work very hard, and as you say, he has got a bit of a gap.
Yes, and definitely these boys, you know, they will bunch up again at the straight, the longest straight.
Hafiz in the green and yellow helmet is in 4th. Right behind him is Nakamura. Febvre Shah is also very good when it comes to the business end of these races. Pearson leads the way. Where is Nakamura? There he is in 5th place. But Pearson is leading the way. Has he got enough momentum? Sharp right-hander from Pearson. Still leading.
Yeah, this is the back straight. Oh, somebody crashed there. I think
Nakamura is out.
Gone out.
Hiroki Nakamura, the champion, is out and will not be winning this race. Sitipon goes the inside. Pearson goes on the inside of Sitipon. Can Brock Pearson hold on? The answer is Brock Pearson from Australia. Takes the victory from pole position.
Yeah, it's a good race for Brock, and he's been trying very hard. You know, I think he must be very happy. He's jumping all over.
That is an excited young fellow.
Yeah, that race was awesome. You know, I sort of went into that weekend and had a bit of a plan because all of the riders had never rode that track before. So that was the first track I was going to where I was like, okay, we're all equal here. So that was great. You know, I kicked off the Friday really fast, qualified on pole, and I picked up a race win after landing on my head in the first one. But to me, that was like my first big win, you know, because the one in 15 landed when some guys ran off the track and they got penalised. So for me, this one was like, this was my first big win, you know. I felt on top of the world, and you know, it was only a little Asia Dream Cup 250 race, but it was massive. You know, every guy was going for it, and finally I felt like I had one up on those boys, and that was really nice.
Okay, 10 questions now with Australia's Brock Pearson. Brock, when did you first start racing? How old were you when you first raced?
I started dirt bike racing when I was 4 years old, and then I made the change to road racing when I was 14.
What's your best racing memory so far?
Absolutely the one we just spoke about in India. That was my first big win, and that was the first time I really felt like I'm starting to get somewhere with this racing stuff. So definitely when I was racing in India in 2016.
As for your worst memory, I suspect it's the injuries.
Yeah, definitely in 2017 in February when I had my big training accident. That is by far my worst memory, and probably not much will top that.
Who are your favourite competitors in the racing world, either teammates or opponents?
Teammates is not so much. We don't have a whole lot of that here in Australia. I'm a bit of a privateer. but I've always had some really good rivals. I've always sort of had a rival of a couple guys like Tom Paris and Ollie Bayless and Tom Edwards. They've always been rivals of mine, and that's sort of the guys that when we turn up to the weekends to race, they're the guys to beat.
Do you have any superstitions before a race or before you get on a bike?
No. The only that I really have is nerves. They seem to pull in every single time, so that would probably be mine. But from then, I try not to think a lot. I just try and focus on riding and going fast.
Which is your favourite circuit?
It would have to be Suzuka. I didn't get a lot of chances to ride that place in the dry because it was always raining. We were either hit with a tsunami or a massive tornado or what was going on, I don't know. But that place is absolutely unreal. I loved it.
Listen, you're a tall fella. Obviously, you're heavier than most of the guys, but if you were allowed to eat anything you wanted, what would your food of choice be?
My food of choice would have to be carbonara pasta. That's my go-to.
It's good for the carbs, it's good for you. If you had a perfect holiday, what would it be?
Perfect holiday, it would have to be somewhere in America, and would probably revolve somewhere around New York. That'd be pretty cool.
Okay. Other than racing, are you good at any other sports?
Pretty much anything with wheels. Besides racing, I do a fair bit of cycle racing, and I do okay at that. So, yeah, if I was to say any other thing I was good at, it'd be bicycle racing.
Okay. Final question. If at the end of your career there were 3 words you'd want to describe your career, what would you like those 3 words to be?
Committed, risk-taking, and focused.
Committed, risk-taking and focused. Ladies and gentlemen, Brock Pearson from the Australian Superbikes Championship, and hopefully racing again in Asia very soon. And that's our show. Join us next week where we focus on Zaqhwan Zaidi, a young Malaysian rider who's already won honours galore. Plus, we review the first Cup 3 event of the season from the Sepang circuit in Malaysia.